The Alfie Whattam podcast.
First thing I wanted to talk about was Boston Dynamics, the robotics company, have just released one of their viral, amazing, exciting videos with showing off all the latest innovations with their robots. Let me show you guys a quick clip of this now, and then we'll get your reactions to this. If you're just listening on audio, now is the time to turn on the video so you can watch the clip as well. And we'll have that playing on the screen. So this shows a construction worker doing some work in a building, and then you have Atlas, one of their signature robots. Look at the chap right there, moving around, jogging up and down. So they've added some innovations to Atlas, to Boston Dynamics, to the world of robots, in the respect that they're now programmed to help with construction work. So we're starting to see the theoretical robots starting to have practical use cases which could benefit the world and humanity, and also potentially not benefit, because it will take jobs and all other things which we'll talk about. There is throwing some equipment up, pushing down, and then jumping down. And my favorite moment of the clip, Kobe. Front flip. Very, 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 very cool. There it is. Nailed it. Well done, Boston Dynamics. We did an episode just on Boston Dynamics, looking at the history of them. They've just come up on 50 years now of innovation, of moving. Okay, cool. So what's everyone's thoughts on Boston Dynamics, on where robots are going? Is this going to lead to us having robot slaves serving every whim that we have? Is it going to lead to the end of the world? What's your point of views, your takes on this? Pablo, what's your perspective on the innovations that they're pumping out over there?
So at the very beginning of the video, I think it's my favorite part, which is when the robot looks around. And I don't know how much it's doing, but if it's given an objective and it look around on how to achieve that objective and decided to grab the plank to jump over the goal, that's mind-blowing. I think obviously that robot is amazing. Even if it's just scripted, it's amazing. And if you think about the applications to like firefighting and things like that, where we don't want to put lives at risk and we need a bipedal thing with hands to traverse spaces that are normal for humans, but now they are dangerous. That's amazing. But it's also terrifying if you give it guns.
Absolutely, yeah. You got the good side, helping out with construction, with the jobs, with military, with jobs that you perhaps don't want to risk humans. But then you've got the bad side. You know, could that just replace warfare with a bunch of robots going after each other? And that obviously has dangerous consequences as well. And other areas, terrorism. You know, strap a gun to one of these, and then boom, what happens next, right? What's your take, Lorenzo, on this innovation?
Maybe it's a good thing that we will have robots fighting each other rather than people fighting each other. Perhaps, in some sense. Perhaps that will bring it to a more fair or more quick victories, or whenever that is applied.
Sure.
On your point on replacing human work, I don't think I saw that in the video yet. Let me explain. We saw a robot doing the job of one man, but I'm pretty sure it takes many people to build that single robot. So I would see this being applied where lives are at risk or in very specialized type of work. Even in that case, we need way more people to build and maintain this fleet of robots than just replacing the work of other people.
Yeah, you're right. It will replace jobs in the sense that a lot of those jobs that can be automated will be, regardless of if government regulation gets involved or not. It's just innovation. It's just going to happen. But on the other side, it will create jobs for developers, for designers, for data scientists, and so on. Which it's a good point. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Phil, what's your take on the rise of the AI machines?
Well, I'll go with the video first rather than AI, I suppose. Really, yeah. But I mean, I love Boston Dynamics. I remember coming across them many years ago, and I'll try not to go dystopian future like you guys with the Black Mirror dog kind of thing. But I love that. I think it did remind me of a toddling child really running around, and I was like, there's a few health and safety concerns. That robot isn't wearing a hard hat. But I think it's really, really great. I think, funnily enough, where my brain goes on that is like the reliability of construction. You know, there's such demands on the construction industry that there aren't enough people there. I don't know if you've done any kind of loft conversions or anything like lately, and you're like, are they going to turn up today? When are they going to finish? So in that sense, in that kind of programmatic sense, you've got reliability from machinery.
Yeah.
I think there's always going to maybe be elements of quality. You're still going to need things like structural engineers to do calculations and load bearing and things like that. So you've still got that architectural element and structural engineer. But I think it's a great advancement. I think to go even further, you're like, hey, we're getting closer to populating another planet right now with things like Boston Dynamics. But yeah, awesome.
Yeah, why send humans to Mars when we could send a bunch of robots to build it for us and then we go afterwards, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Really interesting point about how you felt empathy for the robot, which you said, I think I feel the same way in a weird way, even though I know that feeling is not logical because it can't think, it can't feel, or can it? Who knows? But probably not. Do you, Lorenzo, do you feel any compassion when you see those like early Boston Dynamics robots getting kicked, like the big dog and stuff, and they're testing it? Do you feel that way, or to you is it just
I was not feeling that when I saw that dog-like robot, but now that I see a human-shaped one, the things are changing. I can imagine like a teddy bear by Boston Dynamics. Imagine all the interaction with kids, singing lullabies, and like artificial parenting, if you want. We can make that more human-like. I think, is it possible to get attachment to an animated object? So this is the next consequence. So yes, I do feel attached to these robots.
Do you think that way, Pablo? Do you see them as
there's what you said about attachment to inanimate objects, that's already happening.
Yeah.
And there's a very interesting research that I saw some time ago of digital psychotherapists. And this is like 10 years ago, so nothing even close to ChatGPT existed. And they found that with certain groups, it performed better than an actual therapist because certain groups have a harder time opening up to humans, but don't have that problem opening up to what they perceive as a inanimate box that will not judge them. So I think it's not just are we going to have an attachment with these objects, but we are going to experience new kinds of attachments that we haven't had before.
Yeah, I mean, how attached are you to your phones? I mean, if I go without this thing for a couple of hours, you're like an addict. You're like trying to crave the notifications or something. It's but we're like all humans are attached to our devices, and is this a big leap to say that we'll have relationships with robots that are helping us around the house, especially if you give a robot to a kid as their best friend to teach them and to tell them stories and have a Alexa on steroids built into there. So, I mean, who knows? It's an interesting area. And we discussed it briefly just a second ago, but we've talked about this on the show a lot, how these robots have the potential to replace millions and millions of jobs. We've seen that in warehouses with Amazon. We're seeing that in the construction, in that use case video just there. We discussed military a second ago. Obviously, it creates jobs as well, and you made that great point, Lorenzo. But what are your thoughts on this? Because in a couple of years, and I'd say like probably 5, maybe 10 years max, we're going to have these being used on a regular basis, probably. Tesla have, releasing their Tesla bot soon. Which is great, which can walk around an office, and the visuals from the eyes, it can see that there's a plant, and it picks up a watering can and it waters it, and there's little tasks like that will start to get automated. Amazon's released the Astro, which is like an Alexa on wheels around your house, which can help with a number of different tasks. So we're starting to see the biggest tech companies in the world enter robotics, meaning that it's not going to be long until these are being used on a daily basis and replacing millions of jobs globally as a result of that. So what are your takes on that, Phil? Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've been studying this domain for a long time, really, and I think I've always been pro-automation because of the nature of my work, process efficiencies, things like that. So I can't necessarily have a go at that, and I think it's really good. I think interestingly, I suppose as I got older and thought about this, I think it's more of how do we automation is great, but then we're not just trying to make rich people richer.
Sure.
And I think that there's kind of how do we disperse the wealth when we've automated this work? How does that those profits go back into society and improve communities? So I don't necessarily want to turn your show into like a government type thing, but I think if big tech companies or organizations that do drive a lot of automation and then kind of find that they've measured whole load of FTE reduction. It's like, how do they push that back into communities? You know, to kind of like close that wealth gap. Really. So I think that's kind of my thinking right now.
It's a good point, because this tech has the potential to make the rich even richer and the poor even poorer. And you have a great example of that with like Neuralink, for example, because if that worked, the people that were able to buy that would be wealthy to begin with, because it would cost a lot of money, and those people would have such an advantage over everybody else in the world because of the access to instant information that they would have. They would have like Google and ChatGPT in their mind, which would be a thing for rich people to begin with. So you're right, this tech is you know, revolutionary, but it could be revolutionary for the wrong reasons. So it's important that we keep that balance as well.
Well, I think, you know, I often hear in our work people talking about kind of things like, what about a 4-day working week? What about a 3-day working week and things like that? Now, if the profits from automation, even those companies were kind of pushed back into society, then maybe that could be realised, you know? I think you'd have better streets, and I've just walked through Shoreditch and I found the pollution awful, actually. It's kind of weird how you can kind of walk through pockets of London and experience that. And then we've got lots of strikes going on at the moment as well, and, you know, if you kind of think about the money from, or the savings from automation moving into that, I think, you know, you'll create a better world rather than maybe kind of thinking about, you know, this piano player Kurt Vonnegut scenario where we've just kind of real dystopian futures. But yeah.
You posed the question, Lorenzo. So what's your view on the job side of things? You know, how is this going to impact the world in sort of 10, 20 years?
I can definitely see a disparity, right? These will have use cases will be focalized either on big cities or on the first world, or in some countries only. But what are we going to do with that free time, right? We need to contribute, as Phil said. Totally second that. However, what else is going to change? How are we going to improve society as a whole?
What about from a perspective of, you know, you're going to see jobs like baristas. You know, you're going to get your Starbucks coffee, and then that might be a robot pouring that for you, or you're going to a retail store if they're still existing, and then suddenly it's a robot giving you your pair of jeans. Do you think that's a good thing, or should we limit innovation?
I think technology related to the job market often brings short-term pain. We replace job, then we need to specialize, we need to find something else to do. So society as a whole shift interest, they shift job. Many jobs don't exist anymore because they've been replaced with a very trivial piece of technology right now. By the same measure, there's this cycle of pain, find a new job, learn something new, do something new, adapt. Adaptation is really what makes human progress. But also, I don't believe in a society where everyone can work less, because technology has advanced so much in the last 100 years, but still we work full time all week, and most of us do. Most people in the world still do. So if the technology argument is correct, I would see people working 2 days a week today, but that is not the case. We all want to advance compared to our peers, compared to others. We want to care for our families more and more. So I think there will be still a race to get more job or to do more at the human level.
Absolutely. It just depends on what you want in your life, right? Because I will always work 7 days a week, and not because I have to, but because I enjoy it and I'm passionate about what I do. But for some people, if they want to work 3-4 days a week or whatever, and they can do in the tech that enables them to do so, that's also great, because we have that benefit which we didn't have 100 years ago. The worst case scenario is that we're in a WALL-E, like a movie type situation where everyone's obese on chairs and the robots are doing everything for them. We don't want that. We kind of want to have a bit of a balance. But Pablo, what's your take on the emergence of tech replacing jobs?
So, I have quite a few different things to say here. One is, we used to work more. We used to work 7 days. We used to work longer days, and over time, this has been reducing. But then at some point, it stopped reducing. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but if you measure, I remember seeing some charts measuring the increases in salary and the increases in efficiency, and the increases in efficiency keep on going up, and the increases in salary stopped between the 70s and the 90s. So there was a break on that progress. I absolutely think that we can replace all jobs. So we've been replacing jobs with automation for the past, 200 years, 300 years, creating new jobs. This has always been painful to the people that lost their jobs.
It started with a wheel. I mean, that was the first piece of tech which
Yeah.
stopped you from pulling out a huge cart down the road.
Absolutely. But I think the Industrial Revolution is the first time that they did it at a massive scale,
Yeah.
and it was very painful. And I think it's unrealistic to expect that new people should retrain the new jobs, because the new jobs are entirely different, and somebody that didn't grow with that new technology will find it hard. So I think we need to, as a society, have the welfare to provide a path for those people.
Yeah.
And I include myself among those people as I see ChatGPT producing code.
Absolutely.
And I feel that the world can get from under me at any point.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that the destruction and creation of jobs that we've been doing for a while is it's a certainty. I think at some point we might finish destroying all the jobs, and there will be no jobs left. And I think the result could be an absolute horrendous dystopia, or it can be a wonderful Star Trek-like utopia. Right now, I don't know in which direction we're going. It feels like we're going to a dystopia, not a utopia. But if you think about it, once we automate everything, the price of things should be free, right?
That'd be great.
Because it drops the price. Like if you look at, for example, at the price of light over the last 10,000 years, it used to be that for 1 hour of light, you have to work a month. And now you work 10 minutes to light your house for the whole month, right? And at some point, it's going to be irrelevant.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
And that same thing should be applicable to everything.
Yeah.
Like the price of a banana should be zero.
Sure.
Right? But I'm not sure if we're going in that direction. I hope we are.
The next story actually is a great segue into that point, which we'll get into in a moment. But the price of a banana could be close to zero in the not so distant future, believe it or not. Keeping on the topic of robots and AI, Elon Musk's number one fear is AI. He thinks it could get so smart and it essentially takes over the world, and whether that means it becomes sentient or consciousness or whatever, he thinks it's more dangerous than nuclear war, and that's even despite everything that's happening at the moment with Russia and Ukraine. It's interesting because he was one of the founders of OpenAI, which obviously created GPT and DALL-E, and he set it up very much as a research non-profit, I believe, and I know he's no longer involved because it's become a business, $10 billion investment from Microsoft and so on, and he wants to support AI, which is all about open AI. It's about being open. It's about benefiting the world as opposed to making money. But the fear that AI could take over the world and lead to a dystopian future, Phil, what's your perspective? Do you think that's a possibility? Do you think we're just getting ahead of ourselves? What's your point of view?
I mean, it probably is a little bit of scaremongering. It is quite far away. And I've been in this domain for a long time. What are we up to now? Point of singularity 2045?
Well, 2045 was what Kurzweil said originally. He published a book recently called "A Singularity is Nearer." I think he might actually be saying it might be closer than what he originally said.
Yeah, I think I subjected my kids to an audiobook on our last French trip, which was all talking about scenarios of artificial intelligence, whether or not it'd be like this ruler of humans, and a bit more like the Matrix versus kind of segregated societies of people who reject artificial intelligence, and different areas that kind of augment themselves with it all to kind of be more productive. I mean, it kind of sounds really weird that I agree with Elon Musk, actually, but it is really scary. It's far more scarier than wars that are going on right now, and I think it's about being conscious about the rules that we apply to artificial intelligence. The data sector has access to kill switches, that kind of approach, really, because I think it kind of goes a little bit philosophical. It's like, kind of, what world do you want to live in?
Sure.
Right, and I think we're in that amazing point in time where we have that choice. And even in the small company that I run, we are building artificial intelligence solutions and looking for more and more data. But not at any point really in the design process have we kind of gone, oh, what could go really wrong here, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where we are. I think it's quite easy to talk about the dystopian futures because of sci-fi movies,
Sure.
everything along those lines. But I think, you know, there's even some really nice Black Mirror episodes, right? you know about your consciousness living through a dream-like world, and so I think we do need a little bit of like light and dark with this conversation. Maybe it doesn't answer your question perfectly.
No, it's a good point you mentioned around we don't know the implications of perhaps what we're building. Everyone's just competing, and there's going to be there's going to be thousands of companies built on top of GPT, which are like the next level of AI. And I don't think anybody knows where this is going. There's probably going to be 1 or 2 killer apps released this year, which aren't even out yet. Probably haven't even started working on them yet, which are going to completely change everything. And I don't know what those are going to be. I mean, text to AI video, I think, is a huge one. I think DALL-E was just to start with pictures. Just wait until you can type in what you want to see and it will produce a full-length movie of that. I think that will be coming in the next couple of months to years, and that's going to completely change TV, film, YouTube, video, everything in between. And then you get into the issue of deep fakes. You know, what if you can type in, "Hey, let's do a speech of Biden saying this about nuking, Russia." How do you know if it's real or not? You know,
the part that we're probably battling with, and I'm sure you guys are as well, is that in the financial services space, especially having like explainable AI.
Yeah.
You know, so in our business, we provide like digital financial advice. So could I put ChatGPT in front of it and you can ask questions around investment opportunities and things like that? But then we need to evidence to the FCA how did you come to that conclusion? And I can't say, oh, we just asked ChatGPT and it just scoured the internet and it came up with the best answer.
Sure.
So that's some of the battles that we have in that regulated space.
Yeah, in heavily regulated environments, that's a dangerous thing to do. But when it gets better and better, who knows? Maybe it'll be more accurate than a human giving the advice. So perhaps it'll be worth doing. On the Elon Musk fear, let's go, Pablo. What's your position on this?
I'm not an expert on this. I think there's 2 different risks. One is the narrow machine learning AI that is single purpose, that goes out of control and destroys something. Like we had markets being destroyed briefly by algorithms, right? A couple of times. And we can envision scenarios like that. And then we have the general AI that actually became sentient, that decides that, it's not even like humans are bad, it's like humans are irrelevant.
Yeah, we don't need them anymore.
Yeah, that's it, we're done. I think the reason why Elon Musk believes that it's so dangerous, which I would tend to agree, is because with nuclear weapons, you build them and they are a potential danger and they're there, right? And with AI, like nobody can do anything to prevent the existence of AI. Like with nuclear weapons, we can try to prevent people from getting plutonium or uranium, right? With AI, I assure you the companies doing the research are there and they're going to be there. You can stop doing your own research, but somebody else will.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then AI, it's something that you can apply in part. It's not like nuclear weapons, which are all or nothing. And when you are applying it in part, it's a battle of small escalations.
Sure.
And that's a problem with the small escalations. There's no stop. Like we're starting and there's no end. And I think
death
that's
by a thousand cuts, right? Rather than like a huge swing of the axe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a Cold War that is actually hot.
Yeah. What's your take on Elon's perspective, Lorenzo? Do you want to finish off the AI piece? What's your point of view?
When I heard your comparison with a nuclear weapon, I immediately thought about the Cold War.
Yeah.
Because nuclear weapons were used before the Cold War, but not during. So there was a human element there that prevented humanity to be completely destroyed, and that was due to ethics of people that probably AI need to be taught and trained to hold it. But at the same time, there are so many stories of drunk president wanted to use a nuclear weapon and they were prevented by other humans, right?
Sure.
So this type of AI can get around shortcomings of humans, but it can also we have to be careful that they have to learn from us which type of ethics we need to infer in them. So I don't know if a singularity is possible, but assume it's possible, what do we want to do about that? And I think I would take the Cold War model where everyone has this technology, there's a shift in geopolitical power, right? But now everyone has interest not to use it against each other. So I'm glad that this project is treated as an open source, as an open project, because it equalized the playing field in a sense, and I think this will bring naturally to less peace, even through some difficult times.
We almost need we had the Manhattan Project to develop nukes. We almost need a Manhattan Project for AI to make sure that we're doing this properly. But despite that, it's like what you said, Pablo. I mean, another country is just gonna do it if we decide to do ethical AI. It's not going to be that way globally, is it? And AI knows no borders. It's software, so it doesn't really matter.
I thought there was something going on right now, actually, around AI regulation. I think it's Future Life.
Okay. There's some kind of summit happening or something.
Yeah. So there's been quite a lot of work going on for a number of years around like AI regulations and things like that. So exactly Lorenzo's point, like you don't kill each other with it, really, and kind of what's the repercussions of that. So there's definitely a lot of work going on. I think even Elon Musk and some of the Google founders are part of it as well.
Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video. If you want to see more like this, please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.